everyone. Welcome back to the Spotlight Interview Series. I am here on the Reinvention Channel now, and that is an offshoot of VidetteV.com, and I'm happy to have you here. And today I'm bringing you an inspiring guest that I really want to do her justice and read her bio to you, but then I want to just get into a conversation with her so you can get a feel for what she's about and what she's doing in her own life. So my guest is Nicole Witt, and she's the Executive Director of the Adoption Consultancy and SuccessWithWitt.com, as well as a frequent speaker on both family building as well as workplace and entrepreneurial success. She has spent over 10 years in management consulting and strategic marketing before founding the Adoption Consultancy, which I'm excited to learn more about. Nicole is recognized as an information source, and she's been interviewed on Today, World News Tonight, Fox News, Redbook, More Magazine, E! Online, and many radio programs. She's also been interviewed for articles appearing on WebMD.com and CBSNews.com. Her articles have been featured in local and national publications such as Family Building Magazine. Nicole is a member of the Florida Adoption Council, the National Association of Female Executives, the World Speaker Association, and the American Professional Speakers Association, and the Florida Speakers Association. Nicole is active in Resolve, the National Infertility Association, serves on the Resolve editorial board, and co-founded the Tampa chapter of the organization in 2007. So with that bio, it's a very impressive bio, I want to welcome you, Nicole, to the Spotlight interview. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about we've heard a little bit of what you're doing now, but tell us a little bit about your background and how you kind of journeyed your way to doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, it definitely has been a journey, kind of one step.
It always is.
I started off sort of in the whole corporate environment because I just thought that that's what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And that really kind of, I was doing great, but I wasn't very happy. And it was sort of a cold splash of water in the face when my husband and I came up against infertility. So we battled with that for a few years, and fortunately we were able to have 2 beautiful children. But at the end of that process, I just felt like I couldn't go back to the work that felt so meaningless. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to sacrifice all those hours away from my children, merely for a paycheck and right. Really nothing else, no other satisfaction. So that's when I kind of shifted gears and I took the leap and went out on my own, and I started the Adoption Consultancy, which is kind of like a wedding planner for adoption. I guide people step by step through the process. I hold their hand through the whole process so that they can adopt safely and much more quickly than most people think. So that's been incredibly rewarding. I've been doing that for about 7 years now. And then what's sort of grown out of that was so many people started coming to me and saying, wow, you've started this business, based on a passion that you had, and now you've got, the flexibility of being your own boss, and you've got a successful business, and it's rewarding. How can I do the same kind of thing based on my passion? So from talking to a lot of people who were asking that question, I developed Success with Wit, where I kind of focus on those questions, and I do a lot of speaking in that area.
Perfect. So I took a little note here because you had mentioned something at the very beginning, what you started talking about, and you said you were in the corporate environment, and you said, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. Why? And I'm with you on that. I did the same thing, and I think there's a bazillion women out there doing the same thing. Why do we feel why do you think we feel that we have to do this we have to live this paradigm that society says is what we should do? And had during that time, had you had whispers of this isn't right? I mean, it sounds like you did, but maybe you should be doing something else. Talk a little bit about why you feel that you did that.
Yeah, well, I think part of that is generational from our parents. So I'm hoping that will change for people who are younger now.
Good point.
But, it's my parents were trying to do what was best for me at the time. My dad, worked for one company for many, many years and moved way up, became president of the company, and that's just what he always told me that's how it was done. And so I just never questioned that, and I went to college and I got a good job, and I started doing this corporate work, and I was just miserable. And I did always feel like in the back of my head, I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur one day. I didn't know how or when or what shape that was going to take. And in fact, when I went back and I got my MBA after I'd been working for a few years, part of the reason I chose the school that I chose was because they had a very strong entrepreneurial program. Even though I went back to the corporate world for a couple of years after that, I knew that I needed that base because I knew it was going to come one way or another.
So what I love about it is, and I think this is something that holds a lot of women. They get stuck in, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just going to do this safe thing and collect my paycheck, so to speak. And then, 50 years down the road, they're completely miserable because they've done that their whole life. So talk about how you talked about your journey with infertility and how that just was an organic, it organically led you into the adoption consultancy. And so we don't always have to know what that thing is. We just have to use our life experiences, which is my whole point to everything. Our life gives us the guidance we need. So was it scary for you to start the adoption consultancy at that time? Tell us about that transition for you.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Okay, good.
I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and I had volunteered in that area for the last couple of years. So I knew it was a viable business. I knew that I had the knowledge and the contacts and so on, but it was still very scary. I kind of did it in baby steps. I was fortunate enough that I was able to bring my regular work down to part-time. So I still had a paycheck coming in, while I started building up the adoption business. And then when I stopped working, I was able to take on some freelance work. So, I was able to kind of reduce those hours as the adoption consultancy grew, but I always kind of had some sort of income coming in, which helped with the fear issue a little bit. But, it was very scary making that balance, but I just did it with baby steps and saw the business growing. And I always joke that the reason I did it, the reason I finally took that leap was because my butt had finally become bigger than my why.
Good. I love that.
So I had to do it at that point.
So how did your life change? And as you made the transition into being a full-time entrepreneur, was there still that fear, or did the business did you have to work hard at it? That's what I'm getting at. Did you have to work real hard?
Yeah, I had to work hard. I still work really hard. As an entrepreneur, you work really hard. But you do it on your own terms, which is great. I mean, there are plenty of nights that I'm working till 9 or 10 o'clock, but I was also off between, 5 and 8 having dinner with my kids and putting them to bed and, that sort of thing. So it's a lot of hard work, especially if you want to keep growing as a business. And growing into different areas and being open to where the new experiences lead you. It's a ton of hard work, and you have to be up for that. Yeah. But it's rewarding.
And I think it's a different kind of hard work. Like, I worked hard in corporate, but I would come home drained and, quite honestly, pissed off every night. Right. Whereas, I work hard at my business, building my business. I hustle. But it never seems like work. It's always enjoyable to me because I know that I'm changing my own life and helping to change others' lives, and it seems more like fun work than than hard work.
Exactly.
How was it?
Passionate about.
Yeah. How was it as you started to work with couples who were experiencing the same issues that you were having in infertility or had experienced? How was it to see their lives change, and what did that do for your own life?
Oh, it's incredible. I don't even know that I can put it into words. It's the most rewarding part of my job. It's just so amazing because, I really get to know these people. I work with them in depth, and some of them have become very close friends of mine, even years down the road. And, just to see what they have struggled so hard for, to finally come to reality and to be able to be just a little piece of the puzzle, that helps that to happen, it is amazingly rewarding to me. And so many of them keep in touch and send Christmas cards, and I get to see these babies growing up and these families just having this life, and gosh, I always said, when I was in corporate that I wasn't doing anything that made a difference. And that's really frustrating to me. And I can't imagine doing something that makes more of a difference than helping people to build their families.
And I was looking on your website at the adoptionconsultancies.com, and I mean, it seems as though your work with them is pretty fast. I mean, I've seen some of your clients had adopted in 5-6 months. I thought it was a years long of a process, and it's not.
No, I've had, not that it's more, but I've had clients in 8 days.
Oh my goodness.
We definitely take a really proactive approach to it. It's kind of a different approach than most than we adopt. When they adopt, we get people out with multiple different agencies, which is something a lot of people never think that they're allowed to do. So we take a really proactive approach to it, and that's our goal, is to make it happen quickly. Because people, by the time they come to me, they've been through years of struggle and of trying to build their family, and they are so done waiting. They want it to happen fast. So that's our focus. I mean, safely and legally, and the right child and so on, healthy baby, but as quickly as we can make that happen.
Perfect. So I love what you were saying as you started helping these families, and I'm sure maybe mostly moms is my guess, but you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, that they had these families now and then said, I can't go back to the corporate world. Right. So they're kind of echoing your journey, and I think it's really important here to point out that a lot of times the people that we can help are the people who are along the same path as we've taken, but 4 or 5 steps back behind us.
Right.
And
exactly.
So talk about that and how that evolved into success with Witt.com and helping them establish their businesses and their purposes. And how do you go about helping them find what they're passionate about?
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. I mean, it is mostly moms. Some of it has come from former clients, and some of it has come from friends and acquaintances, and people who hear about what I do and think, wow, I want to do something that's so rewarding and so meaningful to me. So like I said, as I started just spending time talking with people, sharing advice, sharing tips, resources, etc., I realized, I really would like to be able to do this on a larger basis for people. So it kind of started as a little side hobby that was kind of fun and interesting for me, and I just kind of started blogging about little tips and so on. And then I got some opportunities to speak at events, and it's kind of grown from there. So I don't do that work with one-on-one consulting like I do with the adoption work. That's really more, I just want to help and reach as many people as I can. So I do that more from the website and the Facebook page and from speaking opportunities.
Gotcha. Okay. How has your life changed from going from the days of corporate and dealing with infertility to this expansive life that you have now? That you have your children and this work that you do that you love. How has that changed your relationships, your life, and everything else?
Yeah, I was going to say, how has it not changed? Everything has changed, and for the better. I mean, yeah, not only do I have 2 amazing children who are already 10 and 8 years old, which I can't believe, but just my whole lifestyle, enjoying what I do, waking up in the morning excited about what I'm going to do that day rather than feeling sick about what I have to do, setting my schedule to work with, my children's school calendar and, flexibility with things that come up. So just feeling so much more in control of my life is feeling like you're always spinning out of control because you're responding to somebody else's whims. I think it's made me a better mother, a better wife, a better friend, because I can be, a little bit more relaxed, and I can, plan time to do things with people and so on. It's not to say that there's not stress in my life. There's still stress with all the work, but I just feel so much more in control of it, that it's a whole different feeling, and it's a positive feeling. And I love, and I say almost every day, I stop working at 5 o'clock. I might go back to work at 8 o'clock or 8:30, but I stop at 5 o'clock and I spend those 2 hours with my kids. And every day I say, I'm so lucky that I do this, and that I get to have this time with you, and that we get to all have dinner together. And I never would have had that. Yeah. Were I still in the corporate world, I'd be stumbling at home at 7:30 and maybe get to see them before they go to bed.
Yeah. That was the craziest thing for me to look back on. Something else you mentioned I think is interesting, and I still think about this, is when I would wake up in the morning working in corporate, I'd have that, like, I call it the 20-pound invisible weight sitting on my chest, like that feeling of dread.
And Sunday night, right?
Yeah, so Sunday blues. My husband would be like, oh, Sunday blues is kicking in, and then we'd get up Monday, and it's like, it was almost like, I mean, that was our inner souls really screaming out to us, like, this is not right. Do not get up another morning feeling like this. And even to this day, I mean, it's been years now since I've been out of the corporate world, but I still sometimes will feel like wake up with that dread and be like, what is that? And then just be like, oh, wait, it doesn't have to be there. It's just like that subconscious thing that we start to get programmed to wake up with dread.
Yes.
And, and when that's gone, it's a very strange feeling. I know it took me about a year to be okay with waking up being like, I don't have to have that anymore in my chest, that anxiety. But something else that you touched on was, being able to stop work at 5, have dinner with your family, put them to bed, and then go back to work, and have that be a time when you're like, gosh, I can't believe I get to do this. And after all of these years, that still is, I believe, your soul being like, thank you. You've listened and you're doing it. So what else would you share if there's someone sitting watching this saying, gosh, I'm waking up with that weight on my chest. I live with dread all day long. What would you say would be the next step for them?
Yeah, I'd say the most important thing is to believe that it can happen. Okay, anybody can do it. I am one of the most risk-averse people.
Oh, good, yes.
And I've done it. So you don't have to be sort of a big crazy risk taker. There are ways to do it safely and where you can feel confident about it. So envision it, believe in it, and figure out how you can do it one step at a time. There is one step that you can take today that's going to put you on that path, whether it is doing a little research online, about the type of business that you see yourself starting, or looking around for, is there some freelance work that I can do so I can start getting more control over my schedule. And don't worry about the step you're going to take in 6 months. Worry about the step you're going to take today, and then tomorrow, and the next day. And a year from now, you'll turn around and be like, wow, I never thought I could accomplish that much in 1 year.
Yes.
So you just have to start doing it, but you can do it in little baby steps.
Great point. And I love that you said, don't worry about what you need to do in 6 months, because I think, well, I'm going to say women do, but I did that. I thought, well, if I do this, and what happens in 6 months and in a year from now? And you can't worry about that. But something else you mentioned earlier in the interview that I think is brilliant. You said that you volunteered in the area of adoption, and I mean that's a baby step. It may not be the way to earn money yet, but it's a way to get your foot in the door and learn a business that you're interested in, volunteering or interning.
Absolutely. It's so important. You can't just say, oh, this business sounds interesting, and make that leap. I mean, you have to have the contacts, you have to have the experience. You have to know that it's a viable business,
right?
And there's really nothing new under the sun. There's somebody who's out there doing it who probably would welcome the help, and go and learn and see how it works and see the realities of it. Because there are going to be some negatives that you're not thinking about when you're so busy focused on how do I get out of this job I hate. You're only looking at the positives. So get in there and see the realities, and maybe you'll discover, you know what, that one that I thought was the business for me, that's not it at all. But hey, this other thing has piqued my interest. Let me go over there. And it may take some time. It may take some years, to really done that. But again, as long as you're taking those steps, you're going to feel that excitement, and you're going to know you're on the right path. It's so much more rewarding than just sitting behind your desk feeling miserable, knowing that evening you're doing a little volunteer work and you're starting to change your life.
Great point. And yes, and I think if you take one simple step every day, it really does catapult you much faster. It's kind of like, the accrued interest on your savings account. You're like, great, I got 5 cents today, but over time, it creates something, it creates that investment for you. And it's the same thing with your investment of time. You take 30 minutes tonight after work to to do some research or to find a place to volunteer, then you do something again, it compounds, and it does. It seems like it's such a small step, but it compounds over time. So in a year, in 2 years, it makes a big difference.
Yes.
Overall. There was something else that you said. I've just been writing small notes. I started a thought and then I didn't finish it because I wanted to pay attention to what you were saying. So talk a little bit about how people can get in touch with you, what it is, what are you most passionate about right now? In this particular day, what are you most passionate about?
Gosh, I feel like my two businesses are not competing with each other in a negative way, but there's such different kinds of passion with them, because the adoption business is so emotional and so rewarding from that perspective. And the best way to get in touch with me there is on my website. It's theadoptionconsultancy.com, so THE, adoptionconsultancy.com, or you can find it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. But I'm also so excited about Success with Wit because it is a newer venture, so it kind of has a little bit more of that kind of startup excitement, and I'm really starting to grow it and do new things in that area. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun too. It's almost a bit of a distraction from some of the things I've gotten used to doing. Yeah. A lot of the time. And same thing, that's Success with Wit, WITT, my last name, .com, or on Facebook. You can just have Success with Wit.
Something else, too, I think is really great to point out is back when you were in the corporate world, you had no idea that you would be helping women start businesses or create businesses. And little did you know then that you'd even have the adoption consultancy. So I think it's a great example of how things will evolve as you evolve. If you just get started, something will show itself. You do that, and then the next step evolves as you do. And then now Success with Wit is kind of flourishing for you. But I don't even know how long ago, but maybe a year or 2 years ago, you didn't even know that would be existing. Exactly. And so you're expanding yourself by being in business, which expands the opportunities then for more money, more clients, and obviously more fulfillment. So I think it's a really great example of being okay with allowing things to evolve as they do. Nicole, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your path, your journey with us. And for those of you who are watching, you can catch up with Nicole on theadoptionconsultancy.com and successwithwit.com. And I want to thank you again, Nicole. Thanks for being here. And we will see you all on the next Spotlight interview. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.